Sixers fans, how we feeling out there? Hey y'all, my name is Lauren Gordon. Some of you may already know me on social media as Lauren Fan of the Year. Others may have just stumbled upon this podcast, but either way, I want to first thank all of you for tuning in to Season 3, Episode 5 of my very first podcast. I'm just a Sixers fan, the Lauren Fan of the Year story. Now let's continue the story. Y'all, the time is now February 2022. The Ben Simmons drama was still lingering. This was also around trade deadline. There was a lot of conversation about the future of Ben Simmons and the Philadelphia 76ers. At this point, we knew that Daryl Morey was going to move Ben. Ben made it perfectly clear that he did not want to play for this organization. And as I mentioned in another episode, I can't really say I blamed him. Yes, Ben effed up at the end of that Atlanta Hawks series in the playoffs that led to our elimination. Why he didn't just dunk the ball instead of passing it off to Matisse Thybulle, I don't know. And that single play will forever haunt me. That being said, I still thought it was wrong for Embiid and Doc Rivers to throw Ben under the bus and made him the scapegoat. See, people tend to forget that Ben actually carried this team while Embiid was hurt or out for load management and minute restrictions. Now that Ben was mentally checked out, yes, he needed to go. The change of scenery would do Ben and us a world of good. And like a bad marriage, we had to part ways due to irreconcilable differences. The real question was, who could we get in exchange for Ben? And how much would we need to give up? Daryl Morey made it crystal clear that he was willing to wait to get another player of equal or higher talent. He was going to be patient and just not give up Ben for peanuts. I trusted Daryl Morey to make the best decision for our team. As a fan, I was also willing to be patient and get an all-star caliber player in return. So it didn't matter how bad Ben wanted out of Philadelphia. Daryl Morey was still in charge, and he was in no rush. Now, while we didn't have Ben, we did have a hungry Tyrese Maxey who was stepping up big time, and he also complemented Joel Embiid's style of play. Yes, we still managed to play well even without Ben. We still needed that missing piece. There were two names floating around the NBA, and the top two names on my list was Portland Trail Blazers' C.J. McCollum and James Harden, the Beard, with the Brooklyn Nets. I felt like, hell, if we couldn't get Damian Lillard from the Portland Trail Blazers, maybe we had a better chance of getting C.J. McCollum. Now, C.J. was a shooting guard, but I felt like we could definitely use another shooter on the team. But for real, we really needed a true point guard. Now, Tyrese Maxey is a combo guard and could play the point, but Maxey's true position was at the 2. So I felt like the best move would possibly be getting James Harden. It made sense. James Harden had a close relationship with Daryl Morey when they were together in Houston with the Rockets. I just wanted a true point guard. I wanted a shooter, a scorer. I wanted someone who could handle the rock like Ben, but wasn't afraid to shoot the ball. Harden was now with the Brooklyn Nets, and that team and his situation was a dumpster fire. Remember, this was when the Nets added Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. This was a talented Nets super team trio, but they could not get in sync due to injuries, dysfunction, and just not being able to determine who was the star franchise player. And not playing together for most of the games led to their downfall. Listen, you could put three superstars on the same team, but if they're not playing together, building chemistry, it means absolutely nothing. Also, it didn't help their team that Kyrie Irving exercised his personal right to not be vaccinated, which was mandated by the league, but that caused him to be unavailable for play for the Nets. James Harden was very vocal that he wanted out, and I thought to myself, I would love to have James Harden. He had an impressive NBA resume. At the time, Harden was 32 years old. He was a seasoned vet who was in the league for 12 seasons. He was a 9-time All-Star, the 2012 Sixth Man of the Year. He won the league scoring title 3 times. He was the 2017 NBA assist leader, the 2018 league MVP, and aside from being known as the Beard, he had this signature move, the step back. For those of you who don't know, it's when during a game, a player will defend James Harden, and Harden is dribbling the ball, and he takes a legal step back, and it's real quick. And what it does is create space between him and the defender so that Harden can throw up an open jumper, which he makes 9 times out of 10. And I've seen plenty players do this step back move in the league, but no one does it better than James Harden. Around this point of the season, Harden had played 44 games and was averaging 22.5 points per game, 8 rebounds, 10.2 assists, and he was shooting 33.2% beyond the arc. James Harden was a true point guard and could definitely complement Joel Embiid, who was already playing at MVP level. Hell yeah, I'd take Harden, but here's the thing. I was not willing to give up Tyrese Maxey or Matisse Thybulle, period. I always felt like in order for us to get Harden, we would have to sell the farm, and I definitely did not want to do that. I kept thinking if anyone could get Harden, it would be Daryl Morey because of their close relationship. But would Brooklyn agree to swap Harden for Ben straight up? And I thought, why not? Ben was still a talented player. Maybe Ben just needed a change of scenery, and perhaps a new coach could unlock something in Ben and possibly elevate his game. And that also made me a little nervous. I began to think of the risk of, what if we trade Ben and a new coach unlocks something? And all of a sudden, Ben just learns how to shoot and becomes this superstar. Well, y'all, that was a risk I was willing to take. On February 8th, just 2 days after my birthday, Adrian Wojnarowski dropped a Woj bomb. It was confirmed. C.J. McCollum to the New Orleans Pelicans in a 7-player deal. And I thought, wow, C.J. McCollum is off the table. At that time, my Sixers friend, John Licata, and may he rest in peace because, y'all, he has since passed away. But at that time, John messaged me on Facebook like he did every Sixers game. He said, "These Harden rumors are getting crazier and crazier. I'm starting to think it's going to happen before Thursday." And I responded at John Licata, "I think we get Harden, but not till the off season. I think Morey will grab a few role players at the deadline and we'll just roll with it into the postseason." See, to me, this made sense. Harden would become a free agent and we could just wait and possibly not have to give up as much. I felt like our existing team and maybe adding a piece or two was still very competitive as it stood, even without Ben. And that was thanks to Tyrese Maxey and the other players stepping up amidst all of the distractions. Yes, I thought Harden was a possibility, but I felt like if we were going to get him, it would be in the offseason. Then, y'all, there was another Woj bomb. Woj confirmed Domantas Sabonis and Jeremy Lamb to the Sacramento Kings for Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson to the Indiana Pacers. And I remember thinking, wow, these trades are getting crazy. What did this mean for our Philadelphia 76ers? That night, we had a home game against the Phoenix Suns. I arrived early and I went down to the court to watch the pregame warm-ups and shoot-arounds. That's one of the benefits of being a season ticket holder. Well, y'all, Tobias Harris was always, every single game, he was always out on the court warming up. And he would walk by the tunnel where the fans stood and would take selfies, sign autographs, interact with the fans, all that stuff. And this particular game, Tobias walked to the tunnel like he always did after warming up. And I yelled from the far side of where the fans were standing. And I just said, "Yes, Tobias." Honestly, y'all, I didn't even think he heard me. It's something that I randomly yell out when I see the players. Well, y'all, Tobias did hear me. And as he walked by, I pulled out my cell phone to take his photo. And no lie, Tobias looked me dead in my eyes and then looked right into my cell phone camera and gave me a point out. You do the point like, I see you. I wish y'all could see this. He was like, And y'all, I snapped the photo at that very moment. And later, I posted that photo on social media with the caption, I got a pregame point out from Tobias. Oh, and by the way, Tobias had 30 points, 7 rebounds that night, y'all. On February 9th, Society 76 hosted another season ticket holder event at the Crystal Tea Room in the Wanamaker Building in downtown Philly. I had 3 extra tickets, so I brought my daughter Kendall, my niece Taylor, and my little cousin Keandra. Kendall and I picked up Taylor and Keandra, and we headed to the event. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to the Crystal Tea Room, but y'all, it is very swanky. So instead of us wearing our typical Sixers gear, we all wore nice evening wear. I wore a form-fitting black dress that fell just above my knees and a pair of black pumps, and I have to admit, I looked very cute that evening. In fact, we all looked cute. And again, to the credit of Society 76, they did an incredible job planning this event. And each event, as I've mentioned, is unique and just thoughtfully planned out down to the smallest detail. And what I recall about that night, y'all, was the food station setup. They had many, many food stations with a variety of selections. And of course, there were raffles and a DJ who played all my favorite line dance songs because I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I love to dance. And there was a performance by the 76ers Entertainment Squad who got everyone out on the dance floor and kept us energized for the night. And y'all, I even bumped into former Sixers and NBC Sports Philadelphia pre- and post-game show host Mark Jackson. And I said, "Mark, what's up? Can I get a photo?" And he happily agreed. Kendall took the photo of Mark and me out on the dance floor, and it's one of my favorite photos. In fact, I have it displayed in my Sixers room. And there were plenty of photo ops with backdrops, and there was even a 360 photo booth, and the platform was large enough for Kendall, Taylor, Keandra, and me to hop on and dance for 20 seconds. And at the end, we received a link to the video with the special effect of the Philadelphia skyline in the background. It was really nice. And I would later post that video to social media and add the "Here Comes the Sixers" song for audio. And it's just a great hype video with me and the girls. And it was an incredible night. And we came home with more Sixers stuff, which I love because I get to add it to my growing Sixers collection up in my Sixers room. The next morning on February 10th, I woke up and I wasn't feeling particularly well, and I worked from home, and I tuned into 97.5 The Fanatic on the radio and NBC Sports Philadelphia on television because the buzz around James Harden coming to Philly was growing louder and louder. It looked like what was once a possibility was starting to feel like it was a real possibility. And as I mentioned earlier, I wanted Harden for Simmons straight up. I didn't want to get rid of anyone else because I liked this core group of guys. It was Embiid, it was Maxey, it was Tobias, it was Drummond, it was Seth. It was a good team. And then Sixers beat writer Keith Pompey reported, according to sources, the Sixers are refusing to put Matisse Thybulle in the deal with the Brooklyn Nets for James Harden. That's the holdup. All other issues are agreed upon. Oh my goodness. I was like, okay, thank God. You mean to tell me we are this close to getting James Harden and the holdup is Matisse Thybulle? But y'all, at that time, I was kind of relieved because I didn't want to give up Matisse. I thought like Matisse played really good defense for us. And I was like, okay, all right, we're not willing to give up Matisse. So are they just going to take Ben and Tyrese? Like, I didn't know. And then I questioned, okay, if we don't make this deal happen and it falls through, do we honestly have enough to get over the hump to get us to the NBA Finals and, potentially win a championship? I didn't know. I was so conflicted. And I always try, for some reason, as y'all can probably tell, I lead with my heart. I get attached to our guys, but it's like, Lauren, we may need to make a sacrifice for the good of the team to get us closer to, winning that chip. So I was like, okay, whatever happens, it is what it is. Later that afternoon, I was walking my dog Murphy around the block with my earbuds in, still listening to all the Harden sports talk and the possible trade scenarios. I was excited and nervous at the same time. Could James Harden end up in a Sixers uniform? Y'all, my nerves was all over the place. I kept thinking, what if we get James Harden? And what does this mean if we don't get him? And as a fan, I just wanted to get a player who would give us our best chance to win a championship. And then I realized we had to get James Harden. As Murphy and I got close to home, I'm still listening to 97.5 The Fanatic. There was intense breaking news music, and then the announcement by Mike Missinelli on his afternoon show. It is done. James Harden to Philly, Ben Simmons to Brooklyn, and y'all, I gasped. What? Daryl Morey pulled it off? And then, y'all, I quickly made a reaction video while walking Murphy, literally screaming down the street for everyone to hear. We got James Harden and we got rid of Ben Simmons. I'm so excited. This is great news for Philadelphia. Clap your hands, everybody. Y'all, remember, I told y'all I was actually homesick this day. And hearing this news, I felt better immediately. And I just listened to everything on television, on the radio, on social media, so much that I got a Sixers headache because I was on adrenaline overload. And just seeing all the fan reactions and getting all the phone calls from my Sixers friends. And y'all, I was just enjoying every moment. I didn't know if I was more excited about getting an all-star true point guard or the fact that we were finally able to unload Ben Simmons and all of the negativity and drama that was surrounding him. And we really didn't have to give up much to get James Harden. It was a blockbuster trade. We traded Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks to Brooklyn for James Harden and Paul Millsap. Yes, I love Seth Curry. Yes, I love Andre Drummond. But y'all, we were getting James Harden. We finally closed a chapter with Ben Simmons, and we were now entering a new era with James Harden. And as a Sixers fan, I was thrilled. Let's go. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And join us next time as we continue the story.